All right, man. Welcome on in A to Z Philly Eagles post-game show here on A to Z Philly YouTube channel, Facebook page. The Eagles get absolutely slaughtered. They get blown out by the San Francisco 49ers. Final score 42-19 as we sit here moments after the game. And I don't think you could have expected the Eagles to win every game the rest of the season. I don't think you could have expected them to go undefeated in the gauntlet. I mean, sure, it would have been nice. It would have been smooth. But the Eagles suffer a big blow here in this game, and we're going to break it all down. Give me your thoughts in the chat. And once again, welcome on in. I'm not really mad that they lost this game. I'm mad about the way they lost this game. Essentially going out there on your home field and getting put to the side. Like literally being an afterthought. And the Niners continuing to pour it on, and they pour it on. And this was one of those games where literally nothing goes right. And after the first two drives of the game, you're sitting there looking, and you're like, can the Eagles ever get this back on track? I mean, everything absolutely disappeared. And I want to be careful on how I approach this before I really start ranting, because I got it up in there. I have it up in there, right? The Eagles lost today, and it's so sad. They fell from the number one seed to the number one seed, okay? They're still record-wise the best team in the league, and they do have a favorable schedule for the rest of the season. So by them losing this game, I'm not by any means saying they're out of it or the season's done or they can't win this or that. The Niners are a good team. They've beat very good teams the last couple weeks, and they came in here and they handed it to you. And that's the other thing I want to say, okay? I tip my cap to the Niners. I was wrong. I thought this would be a good game, but I thought the Eagles were the better team, and I thought they would pull it out today. And for once, the Eagles' luck finally ran out. That's what happened in this game. You go down, and you're sitting there down 14-6 at halftime, and you're sitting there saying, can the Eagles do it again? Can they come back for a fifth straight week, and can they pull out another win out of their hat? But the Niners are just too good of a team where you knew it was going to eventually catch up if you kept getting behind. And that is what the Philadelphia Eagles did. But again, I'm not mad about them losing this game. Also, Jalen Hurts gets injured in the third quarter. It's just one of those games where everything's piling on and you're not going to win this game, but you want everybody to stay healthy. That's why in the fourth quarter, they got the starters out there. I'm like, what are you doing? Jalen Hurts goes out. He's getting evaluated for a concussion. He ends up coming back in. I'm like, dude, the game is over. Mariota came in, threw a completed pass, did a brotherly shove, and he got it converted. I don't know why they even brought Hurts back into this game. The Niners came into your building, and they talked all the smack all year, all off season. They talked that all week. Nick Sirianni was showing clips of the Niners drawn, and they came in and they handled business. You have to tip your cap. I'm not mad at the Eagles losing. I'm mad at the way they lost this game. To go out there and get absolutely smothered and to look like you had no damn pride, okay? Here's the game. Here's the recap. Here's the analysis, people. You give up 6 straight possessions with a touchdown, you are not winning the game. Let me say that again. For a team that has a solid defense, has great talent on this roster, to go out there and give up 6 straight touchdowns, you should be absolutely embarrassed, okay? And I'm not going to take anything away because I sat here and said the Niners have great weapons. But 6 straight touchdowns, you have to be out of your damn mind, Sean Desai, Darius Slay, and I'm not just pointing them out, but I could go on with the rest of the team. Everybody on that defense needs to watch that film. They need to take it all in. They need to soak it in and burn it tonight. Burn it tonight. I mean, that might have been the most pitiful defensive performance that I have ever seen, man. Couple things coming into this game. What did I say? The linebackers was going to be an issue. Linebackers, right? You're down a couple. Cunningham's out this game. You got Christian Nelson there who doesn't really have much experience. And you have Nicholas Morrow who misses a wide open tackle, trying to grab at the shoulders, trying to bang into guys, lets them break and go all the way. There were so many missed tackles, right? Open field tackling was absolutely terrible. The Niners are not going to do anything special. They're not going to, back up your defense and throw it into the end zone. They're going to do the same thing they do against every team, the Shanahan system. They're going to move guys around in the backfield, try to misdirect you, and dump it off. It's hard for me to believe that in a first quarter where we're sitting here at halftime saying the Niners had 0 points in the first quarter. They had -6 yards. Brock Purdy didn't complete one pass in the first quarter to go from 2 3-and-outs to 6 straight touchdowns. How does that happen? To be quite honest with you, man, I don't think Zach Cunningham, I don't think Shaq Leonard, I don't think Zach Ertz, I don't think anybody would have made an impact in this game as bad as the Eagles defense played. The positive beam of light here, ladies and gentlemen, is that maybe you can say the Eagles got this loss out of the way now, and it'll wake them up and show them we're not indestructible, we're not invincible, right? We have to come out here prepared and ready to play. I just think the Niners were much more locked in today, and they wanted it. You saw it. I mean, again, McCaffrey breaking tackles left and right. You have Debo breaking tackles. Then you have the whole incident in the early second half. And man, this is why I wanted to win this game. I am tired of the Niners and them jawing. I'm going to be a fair competitor and give them their respect and their credit. But I'm tired of them coming in here, right, and jawing all this stuff, not giving the Eagles any credit. You know the media is going to run with this game now. They're going to absolutely run with it. Oh, the Niners and the Cowboys are only 1 game behind, and this, and that, and the Eagles are frauds. They're going to say all these things. But you got the Niners coming into your building, right? And we have this incident where Dom DeSandro, the Eagles' chief security officer, is jawing on the sideline. Dre Greenlaw gets up, and he's talking it up. Nick Sirianni's in there, and Greenlaw sticks his arm out and literally kind of, accidentally hits DeSandro with a punch. He gets ejected from the game. That should have fired you to hell up. That should have fired you up. You should have went out there and said, yeah, I'm going to kick some ass now. Eagles were sleeping, man. They were sleeping. The Niners came in with all this over-the-top energy. You knew they were going to come in with that mindset, and you continued to let them run these plays out of the backfield. And really, with the Niners, it happens before the line of scrimmage. So you have to make your tackles, and the Eagles just did not do that. Penalty on top of penalty. And at halftime, I sat here and I said the officials absolutely impacted the trajectory of this game. And yes, they did. The officials were terrible. It got so bad, as biased as this broadcast was. Okay, I can't stand listening to them anymore. I'm being honest with you. Whatever side the Eagles are, I can't stand it. And as biased as they were, even they were saying in the third quarter that this game was being terribly officiated, and there was a hold on a touchdown where Reed Blankenship's trying to tackle him in the open field. There goes Debo, and there goes Reed Blankenship getting held. Nothing. You had the defensive pass interference on Quez Watkins that wasn't called. A.J. Brown was held about 4 times in the end zone. They finally called the last one. And then you had the offsides on Josh Sweat, which, by the way, they hadn't showed any angle. They did not show any angle of Josh Sweat getting held on that offsides that they called after the play. I've never seen an offsides called that late. They throw the flag after Shanahan's complaining on the sideline, and they give the Niners another chance. It was 3rd and goal from the 7. Eagles get a stop. Then they give them another opportunity. That's when Purdy throws it into the end zone. Ayuk catches the ball, falls on the ground, and the ball hits the ground. But according to them in the rule, he maintained control. So they give him the 7. And there were just so many plays in this game where, honestly, I do feel that the refs impacted the momentum flip of this game. But that is not why the Eagles lost. They lost because they did not want it enough. They did not make enough plays. They didn't want it enough. And after going 2 3-and-outs in the first quarter, the Eagles give up 6 straight touchdowns. You're just not going to win a game. There's nothing else to say. The Niners came in and they whooped you. They whooped you. As much as we talked about the Eagles being underdogs at home and how could that happen, we have to be honest, the Niners are playing much better football than the Philadelphia Eagles. They're playing much better football than the Philadelphia Eagles right now. And every week we said, oh, well, the Eagles found a way to win. They found a way to win. But guess what? You finally ran into a team that wasn't going to choke that in the second half, that wasn't going to give it up. And, sometimes you just got to take your beating and move on with it. Now, with all that being said, the Niners won their Super Bowl today. Congratulations. But let's see who wins the Super Bowl in February, okay? If the Eagles got to go through this as a wake-up call and they need to get smacked upside the head by the Niners to wake up for an NFC Championship rematch where, let's say the Niners are coming back to Philadelphia, okay? This will not happen again. I can guarantee you the Eagles will be much more prepared for that game in late January. But right now, you got to take it on the chin. Eagles got absolutely smacked. I don't know any positives in this game. I mean, maybe Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. I mean, A.J. had 114 yards in this game. Devontae with 96, right? Jalen Hurts had a couple nice throws, but overall, he was up and down, making some bad decisions, coming out of the pocket. And I go back to the fact, and I'm not going to keep hammering home the same thing every week, but it needs to be said, Brian Johnson is just not consistent enough as a play caller, okay? 18 carries in this game, but let's be honest, there was probably about 10 to 12 carries called in this game. Couple of them were garbage time early on, end of the half, whatever. The Eagles got away from the run game early. They didn't try to establish it. McCaffrey goes 17 carries, 93 yards, and a touchdown. He also, in the air, had another 40 yards, okay? So he went above 100. Meanwhile, DeAndre Swift had 6 carries in this game for 13 yards. It's just so frustrating that the Eagles continue to do this where they get so pass happy early in the game, and then if they go down, they never get back to the run. I'm not saying that would have impacted this game. I'm not saying that this would have completely changed it, but when things are going the other way, the Eagles just kept giving the ball back and not taking any time off the clock. I want to see how many possessions they had in this game. It's crazy because the Eagles still won the time of possession. They still won the time of possession, but how many possessions did the Niners have in this game? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And there was more. There was more. I think they had like 10 at least. It's not even loading right now, but the Niners had so many damn possessions in this game. Way too many. Way too many. And the Eagles kicked 2 field goals on the first 2 drives when they got down into the red zone. They had 12 straight drives where they got into the red zone and which they scored a touchdown, and they could not put it in the end zone. So the Eagles got smacked in this game, and there's just not much else I could really say. I mean, we could point out all the different players, but a lot of people got exposed today. The linebacker core was awful, and they were banged up, obviously, so they were missing their best pieces. Safeties were bad. I'm thinking wide corners, bad. Who played good on the defense today? Hassan Reddick? Josh Sweat got called for a couple offsides. You just got wiped. You got wiped by the Niners today. And then late, you had another missed tackle by Eli Ricks as Juwan Jennings catches it. Ricks goes flying right by him. This is like one of those games, man, where it's nothing is going right. Nothing is going right. McCaffrey had a day I knew he would. And even when the game got chippy, and even when one of the best players for the Niners gets thrown out of the game, I mean, you don't answer. You don't answer back. Nick Sirianni was showing his team a clip of the Niners talking smack last night. Where was the fight at? Even if the Eagles lost this game, but they went out there and they were punching these guys in the face, it looked like the Eagles were just playing defense. They had the defensive hold up against the Niners. They just kept taking. They just kept eating all these punches, but they weren't punching back. They weren't punching back. The most important thing from this game is the health of Jalen Hurts, because again, the Niners can win this game, but you need your quarterback healthy. You need him ready to go next Sunday night in Dallas. Okay, that is a must-win game, ladies and gentlemen. That is a must-win game, because if you lose that game, then you're tied. Then you're really risking giving up that number 1 seed unless you win out. And, you got to bounce back, man. You got to bounce back. I don't know what else I could say about this game. Give me your thoughts in the chat, man. We'll read some of those out. What did you think was the number 1 weakness? I know there was a lot today, but what was the number 1 thing about the Philadelphia Eagles that pissed you off today? What was the number 1 reason they lost this game? Also, one more thing I want to point out, because I got a lot written down, man, but I feel like I'm just going to say the same things over and over. One thing I got to say about this game, man. Nick Sirianni, okay, the Eagles were down. They were down 2 possessions, Okay, they were down 2 scores, and they had it on their 33-yard line, and it was 4th and 2. 33-yard line, okay. Maybe you don't want to go for it in that situation and risk giving it up, but based on Nick Sirianni's coaching philosophy, I feel like the Eagles should have gone for it. This one right here, 28-13. It was 4th and 3 at your own 33, and there was 2:30 to go left in the third quarter. Do you think the Eagles should have gone for that? They elect the punt. That's just not what Nick Sirianni does. I feel like he punted the game away on that possession because at that point, the Niners had scored 4 touchdowns in a row. They ended up scoring 2 more. At that point, they had scored 4 touchdowns on 4 straight possessions. So you're punting the ball away with just over a quarter to go. You're down 15. You know that most likely they're going to come down. Your defense can't stop a nosebleed. They're probably going to score again and end the game, which is what they did. Why would you not go for that? I feel like they should have gone for it right there. That's really the only other thing I have. We saw Mariota come in the game. Eagles did score on a brotherly shove, by the way, which was sweet. As Roger Goodell says he wants to ban the play. Okay. Well, guess what? Mariota came in the game. They did it. What now? All right, guys, we'll get to the comments. I do want to say again, I don't think the world is over. I don't think the season is over. The Niners are a very good team. Brock Purdy, 4 touchdowns today. He played his ass off. McCaffrey did what he was supposed to do. Deebo Samuel had over 100. They came in and they whooped you. But how can you bounce back? Because there is no time to sit and dwell and say, oh, well, what if this happened or what if that happened? You have now the biggest game of the year next week against Dallas, and that is not going to be an easy game, ladies and gentlemen. Sunday Night Football in Dallas. That is not going to be an easy one. So we will talk about that as well, and we'll get to the comments. Guys, I need you to sound off in the comments, okay? Sound off in the comments. Give me your number 1 flaw in this game, whether it's a certain coach or player or a group or position or maybe a decision. Give me your thoughts in the chat because I don't have anything else to say. And before I read those out, let's give a shout out to our sponsor of tonight's show. Once again, guys, if you're in here, drop a like on this stream and share it around if you're on Facebook. Shout out to BetMGM. Enjoy all your favorite sports like never before at BetMGM. Sign up with the code ATOZPA and receive up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if you don't win your first bet. When you register with BetMGM, you'll get instant access to a variety of parlay selection features, live betting options, player props, and daily boosted odds specials. And with BetMGM at your fingertips, every play and every game matter more than ever. Find out why BetMGM is the king of sportsbooks. Sign up today with bonus code ATOZPA and get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if you don't win your first bet. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. Okay, let's talk about the people out there and their thoughts and what you guys think. Because my gosh, man, hard to come to words after that game. Let's see. Where are we at? Tevin says no turnovers and we still got our butts handed to us. That's a good point. Mark says Purdy only throws the ball 5 or 10 yards. That's all he does. Throws it out of the backfield. And Kyle Shanahan gets him in perfect position to do a dump off and to get those guys up to full speed before they get a couple yards out of the line of scrimmage. And once you're there, if you're missing tackles, boom, they're off. They're off to the races. Shorey says Dallas Goedert needs to get back in the game next week because we need him and defense wake up. Dimitri says we need to run the ball. Jenny says feeling very sad. Hank says whole team didn't come to play, period. That's all he could say, Hank. That's all he could say. At the end of the day, what else can I say? The whole team didn't show up. Defense got it handed to them, and they need to look in the mirror, and I'm sure they will. Right? This team has been there. They have felt the ultimate defeat last year in February. They have felt what it's like to get disappointed on a big stage. Do they have the winner's mentality? Do they have the DNA to flip it around and feel it and take it to heart and improve on these things? There's still a lot of issues that lie with this team that were kind of going under the radar because they kept winning games. You know, because they kept winning, we said, okay, well, they found a way to win. Now you got to look at all these issues straight in the face and fix them. You need to look at these straight in the face and fix them. Let's see. Tevin says we need Shaq. Well, based on a game today, we're probably going to need a lot more. We're going to need a lot more after that. Prince says hard to blame one side when the team as a total played bad. Def started off hot, but couldn't match the energy. Second half just didn't look any better. I'm just confused on how it goes from one extreme to the other. That's my issue, man. It goes from one extreme in terms of, you know, you come out and your defense punches them in the face and Purdy's getting hit and you go 2 3-and-outs to 6 straight touchdowns. That's hard to do, man. That is hard to do. Maybe this team needs to come off the high horse a little bit, right? Maybe they need this wake-up call. Maybe it'll be a good thing, honestly, because, man, I'm just thinking about Brian Johnson not getting back to the run. I'm thinking about Sean Desai not figuring out at all how to stop these Niners weapons. It felt like this was a game where there were no adjustments, and in prior weeks, we saw a lot of adjustments. We saw adjustments, right? They came back in the second half. They turned it around. Here's the difference in this ball game, ladies and gentlemen. They didn't have the rock to begin the second half. They had the ball to begin the game, and in the second half, the Niners get it. They go straight down the field. That is already right there, like cutting a lot of the lifeline, right? It's 14-6. Okay, that's bearable. And then you come out in the second half, you let them go right down the field. 21-6, just like that. And it's a tough way to come back. It's a very tough ask to be able to battle back in that game. Other than that, man, I mean, everybody got manhandled. They got to look themselves in the mirror after this one. I'm just mad at how they lost the game. I'm not mad that they lost the game because we talked about this gauntlet, right? And they would lose a game, but getting blown out, getting embarrassed like this is very frustrating. And you know the media is going to run with this game. And it's frustrating. That is frustrating. Wardell says they need to stop playing one half and play two. That's a fact. They need to stick in and lock in for an entire 4 quarters. They've been very spotty. They've been very flashy. They need to play a full, complete game. And I don't know if they've played one yet. Shorey says, BJ, I tried to understand you, but you got to go, pal. Oh, and one thing I want to say about Brian Johnson, man, and you've probably heard this here on this show a million times, but I cannot, for the life of me, I cannot with the screens and the quarterback keepers, man. Does this guy have a playbook? Does he have a playbook? I feel like the Eagles call the same 7 plays all game. You see what the Niners do? You see what creativity can add to an offense? It adds so many dimensions, so many elements to your team. Look at the Niners, for example. And Brian Johnson's out there calling the same plays. Screen. Let me not give it to DeAndre Swift. Let me give it to Kenny Gainwell a couple times. Screen. Quarterback keeper. I miss Shane Steichen, man. Brian Johnson looks clueless sometimes. He's gotten better as the season went on, but there are some moments that are just too big, and there are certain halves, like last week against Buffalo, where it's like you don't give DeAndre the ball. This week you come out, you put together 2 12-play drives, right? 12, I think it was 12 and 12 or 12 and 11 to begin this game. You're doing the right things. I just, like, do these coaches overthink? Do they overthink? Or do they just like want to outsmart themselves? That's what I don't understand. You put together 2 great drives. First drive in this game. 12 plays, 67 yards, 5:09 of clock. And then the second game, the second drive, 12 plays, again, 53 yards, 6:48 of clock. And at that point, it's 12 minutes to 2. The Niners didn't do anything in the first quarter. And then they absolutely flipped around. They scored 6 touchdowns in a row. Zy King says, I don't think the Eagles take the game serious. I mean, I think they take it serious, but they just don't put themselves in the best position to win sometimes. they don't put themselves in the best position to win sometimes. Sue says, can't win them all. We still have the best record in the NFL. They can come back next week and win. They have nothing to hang their heads about. Let's be supportive of the team, whether they win or lose, please. Well, I'm going to be here and call out what I see. So, I agree. They need to come back and win next week. They need to absolutely establish their ground. It's going to be a tough game in Dallas. They need to come out and win that game. Otherwise, you're really, leaving that number 1 seed up for grabs, which is very important. But, they get manhandled. You got to say they got manhandled. It is what it is, Got to move on to the next one. I don't think this team is lucky or fraudulent. I don't think they have just gotten lucky to get the 10-2. I think it's been an entire process of a season where, you got your highs and lows, but they have found ways to win games. And I do think that will benefit them down the line. The fact of the matter is today, the Niners just played way better. They got the best of you. Mino says, coaches need the old playbook from the 1970s. Shorey says, bring in Frank and get rid of Brian Johnson. And most importantly, Eagles defense, wake up. Michael says, our offense has no creativity. Yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree. You go back and look at some of the plays the Eagles ran last year. They had these defenses confused, puzzled in the red zone. They come down to the red zone now. I know what play they're calling. It's either a Jalen Hurts quarterback keeper, a screen to Devontae Smith, or Jalen Hurts is running around for 12 seconds looking like a chicken without a head, and he's going to try to make something improvised, off of the run. That's what I see, man. That's what I see. Zai King says, we need a blowout next week. I'm sick of these heartaches. Yeah, man. I agree. The Eagles need to come back and show the rest of the league why they are a good team and why they deserve to still get that number 1 seed next week. They need to come out. I can already see what type of game it's going to be. They better not get blown out in Dallas. They need to come back and establish their credibility. Because again, if they had lost this game 30-28, people would say, okay, that was a really good matchup, right? That was a really good game. Went down to the wire. The Eagles just slipped up. But at the end of the day, man, they got blown out. They got smacked. So now they need to come out and reestablish and show the rest of the people that, okay, this team is still legit. They just, ran into a good opponent. Dirk says we need to run the ball more. Bottom line, open the hole for Swift. Yeah, we need to run the ball. Don't you notice that every time the Eagles balance out the amount of rushes with the amount of passes, they usually perform pretty well. Anytime they do this where they go 70-30 or 80-20 run pass ratio, they get all out of sorts. And unless they're up by 2 touchdowns, then they just get stuck. They get stuck, man. So it's tough, man. It's tough. Don says this was the Niners Super Bowl. It absolutely was the Niners Super Bowl. The way they were celebrating, they wanted this game bad, and this was their Super Bowl. Hopefully the Eagles Super Bowl will come in February. Hopefully they'll be able to get them back, man, because I have a feeling we could see these two teams line up again in the NFC Championship, and the Eagles better not come out with this type of energy if they play this team again. Zai King says the team with common sense would have had these problems change. I feel like the Eagles just go play football sometimes. I'm still going to be a fan, but I got to face reality. They got to pick it up, man. This was a tough game. And again, you got to tip your cap to the Niners because they came out ready to go. Ayuk had over 40 yards. Jawan Jennings over 40. McCaffrey had over 40 receiving. Kittle had 68. 100 plus for Debo. Look, the positives, man, is that it still is only one game. And right now you're 10-2. A lot of teams, any team would be out there, hoping, praying that they were 10-2. So you can fix this. You can turn it around and get right back on your horse next week, but you have to come out and execute. And, just to lose this game the way you did at home is tough. It's very tough. Other than that, man, the Eagles went 8 for 15 on third. Each team had 9 drives. There it is, 9. 456 yards for the Niners. That's tough, man. What do you guys think, though, in the chat? Are the Philadelphia Eagles legit? Do you think this is just one game? Do you think this exposed who they are? Do you think they can bounce back next week? Give me your thoughts on that. Not much else you can really say about this game, man. I'm sure we'll hear the same things from the players. You know, we got to play better. We got whooped. Credit to them. I'm sure the Niners players are probably talking so much smack. Shout out to Big Dom, by the way. I wish the Eagles could have won this game for Dom DeSandro, their chief security officer, who literally got Greenlaw ejected. That was awesome, by the way. That was awesome. That was awesome. Brock Purdy played well in terms of making good decisions, but again, I still feel like he wasn't even put in high leverage situations. I feel like Brock Purdy wasn't really forced at all to make big plays in this game. I feel like he just continued to, you know, dump off, and the Eagles couldn't tackle. I don't get why DeSandro was ejected as well. He's the one that got hit in the face. A lot of yards after catch. I knew this game would be like that. So many missed calls in this game, bro. So many missed calls in this game. I'm not even going to go through them all just because of how bad the execution was. But jeez, man. The Niners are the team to be worried about, by the way. The Cowboys, in my opinion, are still not legit. We'll see next week. Maybe I'm speaking too early on that. Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. But, I mean, Dallas really hasn't played any good teams. They have good teams coming up in their schedule the last couple weeks. We'll see how that goes while the Eagles are playing the Giants and the Cardinals. The Niners are legit. Eagles and Niners are going to probably play again to decide who goes to the Super Bowl. And yeah, I hope it's a healthy game. I hope it's right back here in the link. And I hope the Eagles get a chance to redeem themselves. Hank says it's one game out of a hard schedule. We can't win them all. I agree. And I'm not mad that they lost this game. I'm just mad of how they lost the game. That's the frustrating thing. Raymond says we'll bounce back and go all the way, but we need to beat Dallas. Dallas is a must win. If you don't beat Dallas next week, a lot of people will change their tune about this team. So we'll see, man. We'll see. Really, that's all I got today. The Eagles get blown out by the 49ers. They go down 42-19. Game wasn't really close at all. Thankfully, Jalen Hurts is okay. Thankfully, Jalen Hurts was able to come back in this game. I thought he was going out with a concussion. I'm like, oh no. Jalen's going to be out next week. All these bad thoughts are going through my head. Thankfully, he's okay. But they need to pick this up and correct it ASAP. And hopefully they'll be able to do that next week. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Hit the like button. Share this around. Eagles get smacked. But it was just one battle. We'll see who wins the war. That being said, you guys have a great rest of your weekend. And I will catch you guys all on the next